What up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you guys this monstrosity of a computer that I built. I've kind of been piecing parts together for this for the last couple of months, just because you can't find anything. The Enthoo Pro 2 was just released recently and sold out, I think, the first batch. And so I was on the wait list at Newegg to try to get one, and as soon as they popped into stock, I was able to get one. And then the Revolt X power supply you need to power all of this also was out of stock. Obviously the RTX everything is out of stock, including this right here is a 3070. That's been out of stock. It's got the 4th gen Ryzen up top, that was out of stock. So it's just been like a long accumulation of parts. So it is a full tower. It is a large PC, but it is not I'd say it's kind of like Obsidian 750D size. Maybe not too much bigger than that, but nothing crazy. It's not like a Case Labs or anything like that. The cool thing that brought my attention is, I always have multiple computers going at the same time, and with this it was the ability to have 2 computers inside of one. So you have, the only thing shared is the case and the power supply, which I'll get into that because I had a lot of questions before I built this about how that worked. But we have up here, or we'll fire it up. So the power button for the top computer up top, and then there's this door here, and then these two right here, these two I have running to the ITX computer. These two run to my computer up top, USB-C. You can run that wherever you want. I do have the headphone microphone running to the computer up top. This right here, this far right button right here is the one that powers the second computer here. You'll see turn on. Anyways, we'll jump into specs. So up top we're running the X570 MSI Gaming Edge Wi-Fi, I believe it is. Just a pretty standard, middle range, full ATX motherboard that supports the new Ryzen. We are running the Founders Edition RTX 3070, which cost me an arm and a leg. 32 gigs of gskill, 3200 megahertz, 216 gig sticks. We are running the Heatkiller Pro full copper CPU block. This whole build is more performance than aesthetics, so instead of getting the Phanteks block, which I think is probably one of the best looking blocks I've seen, and I've used it in the past, I actually had to get that from Germany because they were sold out everywhere, so it took about a month to get in. Up top we have an EK Coolstream. It is a Coolstream SE that's about to get replaced this weekend for a 360 rad, so I'm gonna have a 360 up front. That's an alphacool, and I'm gonna have a 360 up top. I have an extra fan waiting for that. But right now we're running a 240 up top. It's pretty much it. It's got a 512 gig NVMe. Samsung 970 is my boot drive, and then there's a 1 terabyte on the back. We'll go to the back side. 1 terabyte Crucial SATA SSD. You can see my Revolt X 1000 watt power supply, platinum rated. And then down below we're running an MSI B450 ITX. I think it's called a B450i or something. We're running a Ryzen 7 3700X 8 core. We are running 16 gigs of 3600 megahertz. It is silicon power. Been really good, memory for me. I've been able to run it at 3600 in this computer stably. I haven't had any crashes or blue screens. Just running the standard XMP profile, no manual overclock or anything. I'm running an EVGA RTX 2060 6 gig. It's kind of their basic. I think it's a KO edition or something. It's very basic. Really great card though, honestly. For this setup runs on a MSI 1080p 144 hertz 1 millisecond curved monitor, and it pretty much plays everything at 1080p relatively easily. Again, the case, we're running the Enthoo Pro 2. which is like the same internal layout as the 719. So you can do like a 480 rad in front, a 480 rad up top. You can do a 480 on the side and a 360 down below, and then also the equivalent of like 140 mil fans, whatever that equates to. But I'm running all 120s. So currently we have 10 Corsair ML 120s in here. So we have 1 down here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I have an 11th one that's going to go right up here when the new radiator gets here, I believe Saturday. Whole computer runs pretty quiet. They're all PWM controlled on a fan controller plugged into my motherboard, powered by Molex. So the good thing about that is I can turn on one computer, all my fans come on. That was my main thing, was I was going to leave this computer on air, because if my daughter or something like that is using this computer, I don't want her to, you know, come over here, power up this computer, which is not connected to the pump or something, and not, you know, and basically the pump not turn on, and the whole thing, you know, overheat and, you know, get messed up or something like that. So the cool thing is, on the power supply, the CPU power and the motherboard 24 pin are the only two things that you have to get in, you know, set up right. After that, the PCIe, Molex, SATA, all that stuff turns on whenever the power supply is turned on. So you can run these computers separately without having to turn both on in a full water-cooled loop like this. So originally I just put the stock AMD fan on that, had my loop go from here up to my processor, and it was complete overkill for the 5600X. But like I said, once I kind of booted it up and tried it with the power supply and realized that the SATA and, you know, Molex and stuff like that, which I have this pump, this is also getting changed. It's an EK pump with a thermaltake reservoir. Pump is kind of at its max limit, and I know when I add the 360 rad in there, it'll be pushing it. My temps are phenomenal, so it's not the end of the world. But I have a thermaltake D5 pump. I'm awaiting like a splitter, so there's going to be a T, because on my pump I only have one outlet. So I have a T fitting, so that way I can put my drain plug on, and I can have that go to the first CPU. But once that gets here, I'm going to do the pump and the reservoir, or sorry, the top radiator at the same time. That's the only thing that's going to be changed. So I'm going to be able to get rid of this one random chrome fitting. This CPU block is a EK Quantum MX, it's called. Really great block. It came with this pump combo and this radiator up top. I did have to run it upside down so that my inlet and outlet were correct. Usually it runs like completely flipped, but I guess to get it to work properly and have the flow go the right way, I had to flip it, or I had to take it all apart and switch the jet inside, and I didn't want to do that. So you can't really see the block anyways. It's just the EK is a little backwards, so not a big deal there. This fan right here I do have powered right here on this motherboard so that it doesn't throw like an error code. I had this right here plugged into the fan controller, and when I turn on this computer, it would be CPU fan error, and I could either disable it, but you know, it's pretty easy to just route this wire through there, and then I only have this fan on when this PC is running. So doesn't make a huge difference. Not like it drops my GPU temp 5 degrees Celsius with this one fan running. So I usually run my computer with that one off, this fan off, perfectly fine. Absolute joy to build in this case. Really high quality. Phanteks really does cases right, in my opinion, and this whole proprietary dual system setup is a really great idea, and like I said, it's been really easy to work with. I probably am gonna run this vertically over here with a riser. just in case I ever do experience any leaks or, you know, anything like that. I paid $850 for this graphics card. It's the most I've ever spent to some scalper, but I've been looking for months trying to get one and I couldn't. So if I have this routed over to here in a riser, if it leaks, it'll probably go down there. None of these fittings align with that graphics card. So it also, aesthetics, I think it'd look a lot better. I'd be able to run this behind the graphics card. I did leave some slack in this on purpose so that I'm able to swap my graphics card in and out a lot easier. This is 1016 EK tubing, just in clear. These fittings right here, all the EK quantum torque fittings, really nice fittings. They work great with their tubing. Really, I don't have any complaints at all about those. I do have, like I said, a couple little 90s in here down below. Those are thermaltake. These right here, these 90s right here are thermaltake. Also really great fittings. I just could not get the quantum torques in 90 degrees. Same deal, everything's out of stock, but I have one down here, very, you know, not noticeable, and then these two right here sit behind the graphics card. So it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I wasn't gonna wait forever, you know, to get those fittings. I did get the EK Quantum 45s, which was pretty awesome. I have a couple of those in there. There's one right there on the bottom for the inlet. I did not go with RGB fans. I was gonna do a black and red scheme on this pretty much no matter what. And I did not want basically 11 fans. I'd have 22 wires and probably 2 lighting node pros. You know, if I went with the Corsair fans, which is probably what I would have done. Or I wanted the Lian Li uni fans, but same deal, they're overstocked, and I'd basically need 4 kits, and they're selling for about 150 bucks a piece right now on eBay. So I was not about to spend 600 bucks on fans. I picked up 11 of these as a bundle on Facebook Marketplace, brand new in the packaging. I paid 200 bucks plus shipping. It was like $210, and they were here in 2 days. So really great fans. They're like the mag lead magnetic bearing or something. They're completely silent. Right now they're cranked up pretty high. They move a ridiculous amount of air, and I think they look awesome. I like the black and red accents. The lighting, you know, the LED is great. Really high quality stuff from Corsair as usual. But other than that, like I said, I mean, so for temps, this processor right here, max temp I've seen is like 50 degrees Celsius. Max temp I've seen on that 5600X is just a couple degrees shy of that. Which when I was running this on the AMD box cooler, it was getting up to almost 80 degrees in this setup. So I dropped 30 degrees Celsius by dunking it underwater. So for me, really successful. And I think once I get my bigger pump in there and add that extra 120 millimeters of radiator surface, it should only get better. Like when I was filling this loop, once I added this all in, my flow was really kind of weak and kind of a trickle. Watched lots of videos saying hit or miss stuff about flow, but ultimately the conclusion for every single one was, you know, having extra flow is better for your temperatures. And like I said, this pumper has combo, comes with like a short little stubby res on it. I think it's like 65 bucks, and my thermaltake D5 is like 175 bucks. It's got 5 adjustable settings. Really meant more for this setup, but when I built this originally, I was only gonna run this to up here, and I think that my flow is great. But I think once I added all this extra, especially when I go with the bigger radiator, it's really gonna be choking down on that pump. So that bracket and everything's all ready to go. That res is gonna go on the D5 because that's what it came off of, and my D5 only has 1 outlet, so I don't have like an outlet and an inlet like I do on this setup. So this right here is going to be my inlet for my radiator, just like how it is now, so I don't have to redo any of this tubing or anything like that. I might have to shorten it a little bit because I think the D5 is a little bit taller But like I said, it's really easy to just kind of chop this down a little bit. I have the EK cutters, they work great, but really a pretty straightforward, easy setup. Did not want to go rigid tubing. I get too frustrated doing the bends. This soft tubing goes on so tight. You know, I've done builds where I just pushed it onto the barb and ran it without the, you know, I guess compression fitting, and they've been rock solid and never leaked on me. But these EK quantum fittings are really kind of eye candy for me, and I just wanted it to be simple. And like I said, I was going more for performance than appearance, so I went with soft tubing. My last two builds have all been rigid, but just for, you know, ease of operation, like this ram I just added, and I was able to kind of bend the tubing down a little bit and sneak the ram in. If it was rigid, I'd have to drain the whole thing to get it in there. Same with my graphics card. So I have a little bit more flexibility with this setup. Did not build this to sell. I probably could have bought a decent car, you know, for what I have into this machine, but plan to use it for, you know, some time to come. And it's just been a long process of accumulating parts and putting it all together. So I'm really proud of how it turned out. And if you guys have any questions about how this whole dual setup works, I'm happy to answer them. I think it's still very new, and I had some questions myself, and once I put it all together, you know, I was able to figure out that, you know, the SATA and Molex and all that stuff works as long as the power supply is powered up at all, which really allowed me to do the dual setup. If it was just me and my wife, and I, you know, I could say, hey, you know, make sure you turn my computer on before you turn your computer on, so we don't, you know, so the pump comes on, it wouldn't be a big deal. But my kids play a lot of my computers, and, you know, I want it to be, you know, able for them to use as well, so they can, you know, turn on any computer that they want in there and boot it up and play, and I know and they know that everything is going to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. So anyways, guys, like I said, thank you very much for watching my videos. Trying to grow here, trying to get a little bit bigger so I can continue making this sort of stuff. But welcome to 2021 again. Stay safe, let's get through this virus, and have a great year.